Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you all, and thank you all for coming. I'm Assemblyman David Weprin. I'm the prime sponsor of the Clean Adoptee Bill of Rights bill that passed out of the Health Committee today. I'm joined by Assemblyman Dick Godfrey, who is chair of the Health Committee, who was at the committee meeting today, and it passed overwhelmingly in the committee. We also have the prime Senate sponsor with us, Senator Montgomery, who has been a long-time advocate for Adoptee Bill of Rights. And we have a number of other colleagues who I will introduce to say a few words in a couple of minutes. As I mentioned, the bill that passed out of the Health Committee today is a clean bill of health, a clean adoptee bill. We've had a number of versions of this bill over the years, but I'm happy to say that I think this bill has the most support among all the advocates in our state. There's been a long history with this version and with many other versions and many individuals sponsoring it. But I can say that the bill that passed out of the Health Committee today, and hopefully we will get to the floor of the Assembly and the Senate, is an equal bill. Our state remains behind in granting what is a basic human and civil right, the right of adopted individuals to have their original birth certificate, medical history, and identities. Under current law, children born in New York State who are then adopted lose access to any form of their original birth certificate, and with that also lose any connection to their family history, medical background, and sense of self. This is kind of hard to comprehend for most of us who are non-adoptees. Those of us who are raised by our birth parents and enjoy the benefits of knowing if we have a predisposition towards certain illnesses and are able to take pride in our own cultural heritages and backgrounds. Meanwhile, adoptees without access to their original birth certificate will never know if they are at a higher risk for certain illnesses, if they have an extended family, or if they have siblings. Hypothetically, an adoptee born in our state could get married to a brother or sister without even knowing it. This does not make much sense at all, and other states across the nation have come to recognize this. There are now 9 states, and advocates, feel free to correct me if I missed one or two. 9 states now provide for full access to an original birth certificate, while 11 more states offer some form of restricted access. Adoptee rights are a reality in states as different as Alaska and Hawaii, Alabama and Rhode Island, Colorado and Kansas. And New York must now join these enlightened states and move away from the old-fashioned logic that continues to deny adult adoptees in our state access to their original birth certificate, which, in my opinion, is a basic human right. In today's world, the vast majority of birth mothers and fathers seek to learn more about their children and welcome a relationship with their adult offspring. The real-life stories of reunification told by both birth parents and adult adoptees tell of how these experiences are often life-changing for both sides and speak to our values of acceptance, compassion, forgiveness, and understanding. New York will ultimately join the growing chorus of states and countries that have already granted adoptees their rights. But New York, with its rich history, cannot afford to wait any longer, as the adult adoptees born in our great state are running out of time. So it's time to get it right, make it equal. Thank you. I'm now going to call upon Assemblyman Richard Godfrey, who's been a strong advocate for this bill for many years and has shepherded this bill through the Assembly Health Committee as most recently as earlier today. Assemblyman Richard Godfrey.
Thank you. So first, I think we all want to thank David Weprin for his really extraordinary dedication and persistence on this important issue. And for me, this is first and foremost a question of our fundamental right as individuals. If the government has information about a New Yorker as fundamental as where you come from and who your parents are, how dare the government say that we have a right to keep that information from you? So, if nothing else, to me it's a fundamental question of the principles of liberty. But it's also practical. We've all heard story after story of people who have reunited with their mother or both of their parents, and almost every one of those stories is a wonderful story. It involves the parent who gave up the child for adoption and has, it turns out, been longing to know whatever happened and been longing to ultimately have some sort of reunion. And for the children, it almost always is also a happy ending or a happy new beginning of a story. So it's a fundamental principle. I think it's also practical, and we've got to get this done.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm now going to call upon the prime sponsor of the bill in the state Senate, someone who has sponsored this bill for many years in the past and has been advocating for adoptee bills for so many years, Senator Velmanet Montgomery.
Thank you. I also want to thank Assemblyman Weprin for his long-standing support and work on this bill. And I want to thank the people who are here. They stood on the steps of City Hall with us some years ago when we were once again talking about passing this legislation. But I was not in the majority at that time. So the only thing that I could do was support him and support the health share in the Assembly. But today, I'm here to say that we now, as the majority in the Senate, this bill will be on our agenda. We look forward to passing it so that for once and for all, the governor will have an opportunity to sign into law the rights of adoptees in our state to have access to information about their birth parents. So thank you, and we're looking forward to that.
I'm now going to call upon a colleague of mine from Syracuse, New York, who has her own story to tell, Assembly Member Pamela Hunter.